The year is 1836, the final year of Andrew Jackson's presidency. The U.S. now has 24 states and 4 territories stretching across the Mississippi River. But the Americans have their eyes on the Pacific coast. California is part of Mexico, but Oregon country is up for grabs.
You could get land cheap in the West, and you could get land in Oregon free. You could just go out there and claim it. Because Americans at that time did not recognize that the Native American peoples living on any territory had title to the land.
Missionaries are hearing a story that to them is so delicious. They hear that 4 Indians from the Pacific Northwest traveled to St. Louis to get more information about Christianity.
If somebody says, bring the gospel to us, how, as a good evangelical Christian, how can you say no?
The call to mission sounds out across the eastern states. For Narcissa Prentice, a young woman in upstate New York, it strikes a chord.
She leads revivals, she teaches Sunday school, and so she becomes very dedicated to the idea that a missionary vocation is really the right thing for her. Marcus Whitman is a 32-year-old doctor in upstate New York. He is an evangelical Christian.
But he's bored by being a doctor. There's no excitement in it.
He applies to the American Missionary Board, and they're not too keen on sending him out as a single man. And so they encourage him to get married, and he finds a suitable candidate in the figure of Narcissa Prentice.
You need a husband, I need a wife. And so they get together, they get married, and then they present themselves to the mission board, and the mission board at this point can't say no.
Despite their warnings they receive about the Cayuse, the Whitmans embrace their missionary work. Marcus builds the mission with several hired hands from the Hudson's Bay Company. They call it Waiilatpu, in the Cayuse language, the place of the ryegrass. Funded by the Missionary Board in the East, it will include a mission house, a school, and a farm.
When the Whitmans arrive, they think their ways have to be followed before the Native Americans can be saved. So that involves settling down, becoming farmers, cutting their hair, stop dancing, stop gambling.
They want us to give up the way of life that has sustained us for more than 10,000 years. The expectation is that we should be as much like them as possible. In all factors of our life, we should be prim and proper. We should not travel to gather our foods. We should stay in one place and grow our foods. We should not take up with the trappers and traders in the way that we have. And everything they want us to change is not in our nature.
The Whitmans are failing to convert the Cayuse.
Marcus and Narcissa Whitman only managed to baptize 2 people in the entire time that they are running this mission. 2.
And so the board finally decides we're going to pull the plug.
But Marcus refuses to accept the mission board's decision. With winter fast approaching, he leaves Narcissa in October of 1842 and begins the 3,000-mile journey back east to plead his case in person. At the end of a harrowing 6-month journey, he arrives in Boston in threadbare clothes and throws himself on the mercy of the mission board. They give him one last chance.
Whitman returns from Boston by way of St. Louis. And in St. Louis, there is a large wagon train formed. He didn't organize it, but he ends up becoming its de facto head man. He shows them that wagons can, in fact, cross the Rockies, and several hundred American settlers come. It opens the way for an almost exponential growth.
7 years have passed since Marcus first set off for Oregon country. This time he is one of the many making the trek. In 1843, more than 1,000 Americans are bound for Oregon country. Economic conditions in the East are driving more and more Americans into the West.
There's a financial panic in 1837 that throws a lot of people out of work. And people in the East, for whom life wasn't going so well, they always thought they could start over again in the West.
In late September 1843, Marcus returns to Oregon country. After more than a year apart, Narcissa and her husband are reunited. The Great Migration gives them a new purpose. Turning their attention away from the Cayuse, they focus on supporting new migrants who stop off at the mission on their way to the fertile lands of the Willamette Valley to the west.
Often when settlers traveled west, they lost family members. Parents died and children were left orphans, and the Whitmans took them in.
Narcissa Whitman recognizes she's not going to be converting Native people. And so she says, I realize that I have to focus my efforts on trying to bring the light of the true religion to the white people around me.
The influx of migrants strengthens the Americas' hold on the Pacific coast. Although it is still jointly occupied with Great Britain, Oregon figures more and more into America's dreams for the future.
In the case of Oregon, the settlers went ahead of government, and then government came along afterwards. And so more people come the next year, and more people come the year after that.
And so the Oregon Trail then becomes the highway to Oregon.
The numbers go from like 250 one year to 1,000 one year to 4,000 the next year to 7,000. They're starting to outnumber the indigenous people of the region very quickly.
In 1855, just 50 years after first welcoming American explorers to the region, the Cayuse are forced to sign a treaty. The terms are harsh. They must give up their vast homeland of over 6.4 million acres and move on to a 245,000-acre reservation shared with other tribes. The lands they surrender are given to American settlers. In 1859, Oregon becomes the 33rd state in the Union. From the 1840s through the 1860s, over 400,000 people travel west along the Oregon Trail.
It was the greatest folk migration in American history. At some points, there were as many as 12 wagons abreast going across this country.
So many people come to the Willamette Valley that they actually carve a cut through the mountains and across the prairies that can be seen still from satellites.
The epic migration continues by foot, by cart, by mule, and by wagon, until the Transcontinental Railroad offers travelers a gentler way to go west. Oregon is changed forever, where the Cayuse once gathered food and hunted game, and where the mountain men once trapped animals for trade. The varied landscape is now supplanted by settlements and farms.
And so there's a kind of transition from an extraction economy of furs and now moving into an agrarian economy in the Pacific Northwest.
We accept that our homeland is the homeland of many people now. Our elders always tell us there's good and bad in everything that happens. You have to look at both.